So
Right.
Take two.
Take two.
So yes, I've been wanting to record a video with you because I feel like we have a lot of similar views, and then we have some slightly different approaches to veganism.
I want to share our conversations with others because I feel like we have some really good ones.
Yeah, I agree, and I think we talk a lot about veganism
all the time.
A lot, yeah.
So it's like one of my favorite things to talk to you about.
If it's quiet, we're gonna talk.
Honestly, there's always something to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the thing that I was thinking today was we have sort of different kind of experiences with the social aspect of veganism and talking to people about it. So, I guess what's your like experience, and how do you kind of approach interacting with people, and how's that experience been for you as a vegan?
So I have a couple different approaches. I like a lot of times, whenever I first started out, I did a lot of direct outreach and had a very compassionate kind of intention with it too. Like, always like, I'm like humble, trying to spread the message the best way possible. And I think sometimes that helps to have an open heart whenever you're talking about something that does bring up a lot of emotions in people, because, you know, obviously like we've all been through that where like we just mention that we're vegan and somebody's emotions get in the way and they're like really mad just because they're kind of threatened by that insinuation that they could live a different way. I think a lot of people get their identities tied up in it. So
like tied up in like them not being vegan. It's like, I think you're right. I think it's like some people look at it as, you know, a personal insult. Yeah. Like, because I'm saying that it's not okay to eat animals and I don't do it. And
they feel guilty.
Right, I think it comes from
guilt. And it's
guilt.
like, that's they kind of project that onto you rather than doing the introspection. A lot of times. It's not every time.
Right.
It's not every time. Especially, and I feel like especially whenever you have an approach that's really humble, sometimes that can disarm people from that response as well. They feel a little safer to be vulnerable with you about their own shortcomings that they perceive. But it's not always the case. Definitely, for sure, it's not. And also, like, we can't always. I don't think it's for everybody to like to be so humble whenever we have strong feelings too about the way animals are treated and what's happening in the world, and like how we feel sometimes betrayed by the people around us.
Oh, that's such a I completely agree with you, because I think that there's so many different ways to outreach, and I think that you're a lot more humble than I am, and you're a lot calmer and
most of the time.
I'm more. I feel like I'm diplomatic, but I'm more confrontational. I'm like, it's wrong to harm animals, so why are you doing like? Right. I mean, maybe not that abrupt, but I'm a little bit more confrontational, and I think that something that we've talked about before is that, you know, it's easier, I think, for somebody like me to be a little bit more confrontational, because I don't have a lot of like discomfort in being disliked. So if I'm in a room of people that don't like me for any reason, I'm just like, okay. But I think that, you know, but that's my choice. I'm a little more of you know, I like to be alone, and I'm a little more of like I'm a hermit. But I think your experience is a little different. You're more connected with people. You're more social.
Very social.
Yeah. So I guess my curiosity comes from, you know, how is your experience being a vegan and doing outreach in kind of your personal life, your friends and your family, and not necessarily like how do you be successful, but what's been your experience, like your personal human, you know, how's that been for you emotionally, reaching out to people that are close to you, and that sort of social consequences?
Like, and
how do you deal with that?
And that's a really great question. I appreciate you asking that. I mean, you knew me last year. I was surrounded, I had really a lot of friend groups, and I wasn't comfortable talking about veganism in any of those friend groups, and it really diminished me, and it was really tough because that's part of my personality, it's part of my reality. I witness what animals go through, and there was actually a point where it like really broke me down. Like, nobody understood me, and nobody and they had a problem with me like holding that truth. They felt like I was shaming them and judging them because I wasn't able to talk about it. I think that they just kind of projected that onto me because they know I was vegan, but they didn't understand my reasoning for having those feelings whenever they would eat animals around me and anything. They wouldn't ask me questions either. And
so it's almost like you were sort of holding back because you didn't want to cause that discomfort, but it happened anyway.
Anyway, because I was being inauthentic, and they knew that. And how can you trust your friend when you know they're not being honest with you? And honestly, like that's one of my main things is I would encourage like every vegan, like don't ever diminish your truth. like it's kind of our obligation to speak up for animals whenever we see what's going on. And like other people, they literally don't know. Like they genuinely they don't know. People think that cows just make milk. They think that they don't understand that pregnancy is involved, that forced pregnancy is involved, that like they don't really understand the context of the lives that these animals are put through. So when you see that, it's kind of your job to tell people. It's a kindness even.
Yeah, and I love that. I love where you're coming from, because it's like, no matter how you do it, no matter if you're an aggressive, quote unquote aggressive vegan, or if you're a little more passive or even just existing,
right.
I think that we really, every single one of us has an obligation to the animals to speak up, to surpass our own discomfort, because their animals' discomfort is so much extreme. Yeah. So I guess you kind of found that in your sort of journey in the last little bit, as far as being more comfortable being openly vegan and more I guess verbal about it, or vocal.
Because I realized that my feeling and my perception and my understanding of reality wasn't going to go away, and my feelings about what the animals were going through wasn't going to go away. But like I realized people wouldn't accept me even if I hid myself.
Right, yeah, that's such a good point too. That's such a good point. It's like if you're just a vegan alive, they're gonna have those feelings towards you, so you may as well speak up, right? I mean, maybe that's what you're saying.
I do think so.
Yeah. And maybe it pushes people away if you do speak up more than you would if you didn't. But then
I would rather stand on the truth and have them have to go their own way to figure it out, and me be real with myself and with the situation and with other animals and with them. Because if you're diminishing your reaction to the biggest Holocaust that's possible, that is currently ongoing, like you're doing everyone a disservice. You're not taking it as seriously as it is, I feel.
And remember, Holocaust is a massive slaughter of. It doesn't necessarily refer to the Holocaust. I think that's important, because people get so reacted to that word.
Yeah, people do react really strongly, but like the Earth is being sterilized systematically by human supremacy, which is a form of fascism.
Right.
This is the situation we're in.
Right. So I guess, I think that you've definitely had such a cool experience too, from going from, I don't think that you were ever like a meek, shy vegan, but I think, like you said, you definitely sort of held back because the social consequence of speaking up when you are such a minority.
We are. Oh my gosh.
And not only are we a minority, but we're a minority speaking up for
another
an unseen victim, right? And it's
invisible.
Like, so we're not even, and that's an interesting sort of
dynamic for us. We have a big job ahead of us to figure out how to talk about it.
How does it feel, I guess, like kind of going through that, like going from you're still social. I know you still hang out with people, you still do things. So I guess, how's that felt? Like, have you kind of consciously been aware of the transition of, I'm more, you're more speaking up more? Is it very clear? Do you look around now and you're like, wow, people have really had a hard time with me confronting them? Or is it more like, well, how's that been? Or do you have more vegans in your life because of that? Like, how's that?
Second part, actually.
I was wondering,
Whenever I take myself seriously and I stay authentic to myself, people recognize me, and they recognize the situation, because I'm not bullshitting them about it. I'm not just saying, oh, I'm a vegan, but it's fine if you do that.
Right.
It's not okay. It's not okay. I do judge you. Like, it's wrong. Like, it's wrong to hurt animals. Like, we know this. Like,
yes. And I'm so with you on that too, because I'm also like that. I'm like, the whole, I'm a vegan, but it's okay that you're not. It really, it's not okay that other people harm animals, because the word vegan, I will always claim it, but I think when we look at the definition of that word, what we're saying is, I choose to not harm animals unnecessarily, but you do, and that's okay. That's what we're saying, and I think that's not okay. I choose to not harm animals unnecessarily, and you shouldn't either. Right. So I think that when we do that whole I'm not judging you thing, and judgment, whatever, you can look at the definition of the word, but when I'm looking at somebody else and saying, oh, it's fine if you, and I went through that when I was a vegetarian, like, it's fine if you do, right.
Vegetarianism is it's like the gateway back to communism.
Well, I started there. That was the gateway to veganism, but I wasn't. But I remember having a Thanksgiving meal, and like my aunt, she did this whole thing. She's like, everything here is plant-based for you. And I was like, oh, it's fine. Like, oh, you didn't have to do that. But, looking back, I should have been like, great, you should do this for but I wasn't. I was only a vegetarian, so I wasn't there yet.
There's a lot of stuff that is not connected yet whenever you're just a vegetarian and you're not yet vegan, because the exploitation is exactly the same, and you're still normalizing that animals
worse, really, I think, of the dairy industry.
To be oh my gosh, the dairy and egg industry are some of the worst horrible things that somebody can be subjected to, and that's really just a surface level because there's so much other animal exploitation happening, and testing and labor, and all of that. So
and we didn't know, so we look at the people in our lives that we may not feel comfortable confronting, but like you said, it's almost like it's an honorable thing to do, to say, hey, I believe that you have the integrity to act appropriately with this information, right?
Yes.
Like, I'm giving you a chance to step up because I believe that if you knew what happened to animals, you wouldn't want to pay for it, right?
100%.
So and I think initially everyone's response is, but then you give them time, and a few weeks later, and a few months later, you know.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about, like, I believe in the best version of you. Like, I feel like a lot of times when people have the immediate negative response, they think that you see the worst version of them.
Right. You hurt animals rather than, I believe you can stop hurting animals. Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of interesting because, like, I am recognizing the reality that you choose to hurt animals
unnecessarily,
and I know that you may not have all the information that you need to make a clear judgment.
And that's such an important thing that I think that they miss, is like, I'm recognizing, and I've said that to people recently too, which is, you know, it's not your fault that you didn't know. It's not your fault. It's not right. But now that we've had a conversation, now you know, and now you have to act.
You got to. That's your responsibility. And that's the thing and that's something that I discovered whenever because I did activism long before I was comfortable talking to people in my personal life about veganism, because I was scared of rejection. But whenever I'm doing outreach to random people, I don't have the fear that my friend isn't going to want to talk to me anymore because they're not my friend. But like going back around, like.
You forgot where you're going with it. That's okay. No.
Yeah.
You were saying that you know, when you first started with activism, you know, you were sort of more, you know, you were doing activism for quite some time, and regardless of like how that social interaction was, it's a little bit different than in person, I think, and that's an important aspect too. Like, I'm definitely more confrontational when it's like a stranger online, and I think it's because for me it's like, if we're talking on an online forum and you're in a vegan space, you already know, you already have all the, I'm not going to, I'll mention what happens to cows and chickens, I'll tell you, but I'm also going to be like, you're here in this space, you already know, I'm not really willing to go, I've done it before, I've spent hours going back with someone, and here's what happens at the end. Well, I'm never going to go vegan, but thank you so much for being civil. Ugh. That's right. Yeah. So
fuck civility. It's a holocaust.
No, I go straight to stop harming animals. Like stop forcibly impregnating cows and killing their babies. Yeah. Because that's what I want to say. Like, that's what I want to say at the end.
It's the truth. Like, I don't want to spend all this time just convincing you that they have suffering that is caused. Like, I don't, like, we're gonna call it the R word. We're gonna call it murder. We're gonna call it everything that it actually is. And going back to what I was saying earlier, whenever you're talking to strangers, you don't have to deal with the disappointment. You know, after you tell them, hey, this is what's happening, you don't have to deal with watching them do it knowingly. You don't have to, and whenever it comes to people, when it comes to people in your life, if you give them your best shot and you tell them everything and you open that vulnerability, because it is vulnerable. It is a vulnerability for us.
This hurts me so much. Will you please stop causing this harm?
And they're like, nope. And for me, that's destroying to my relationships. Like, I can't be open with somebody to say, hey, male chicks are ground up alive minutes after they hatch, and that's what's happening. That's what you're paying for whenever you buy eggs. And then see them, like, I tell them that, my friend, and then I watch them continue to do it. Like, I can't abide by it. I kind of took a big step back from somebody in my family that I really love and care about, and she's somebody that calls herself an animal lover, and I know that in her heart she thinks that, but we had so many I don't want to say specifically, you know, you know, and we had a lot of back and forth without me being aggressive, just a lot of like, hey, I know you spent a lot of time trying to educate her.
And she just said, I'm never going to go vegan. It's a luxury I don't have. And it was so heartbreaking because, you know, and what really drives me up the wall too is, you know, coming back to the whole idea of, you know, well, you know, thank you for being nice to me about this. This is what bothers me too. Veganism has nothing to do with me. And I hate that idea of, you don't have to be a not pushy vegan, because it doesn't matter if somebody thinks we're pushy. Be pushy, be whatever reaches. I'd rather have somebody be pushy and preachy than nothing.
100%. So anything's better than silence.
Right. Anything's better than silence. And I think that it bugs me when vegans, and myself included, anybody, you know, when we feel like, well, I don't want to be looked at negatively. So what? So be looked at negatively. And we talked about this in the you know, when we were driving back from the gym. It was like, you know, I believe this too. You know, the suffragettes, women's rights activists, sexist people didn't like them. Homophobes didn't like queer rights activists. People who own slaves didn't like abolitionists. Mm-hmm. So there's, any sort of person that's doing the oppressing, they're never gonna like the person who's fighting. So you're gonna be disliked. You're gonna be disliked.
Be okay with it.
Be okay. That's kind of the whole thing, I think, is be okay. And that's your journey that you've kind of come into as well, which is.
But also, when you accept that risk, people in your life who need your presence will come to you. Like, I'm surrounded by vegans. I've turned people in my life vegan just by standing on it, like my roommate situation, we are not friends anymore, but they are still vegan nice. Because I was throwing away all the shit in the fridge, and I was like, this is not allowed in our house.
They come back and the fridge is just empty. You're like, I don't care.
I don't give a fuck.
You're not gonna hurt animals around me.
And I know that you're better than that, and I'm gonna show you what it's about. I will show you with my words and my actions, and that's that. And
that's quite confrontational, but it worked.
4 people went vegan. Overnight almost.
That's
because
awesome.
I set a good example, and
that's so
people need that example. They need that example. They need somebody who's confident in their message and
I wonder exactly, and I wonder how it would have gone if you had just said, well, I'm a vegan, and I hope you don't mind, I'm gonna have a vegan spot in the kitchen, and it's okay if you eat animals, I'm just not gonna we'll just have separate pans. How would that have worked out? I wonder if they would have just gone,
I know for a fact that they wouldn't have.
I have a vegan roommate. That's crazy. Anyway, let's go get a burger.
That's what they're doing. They're doing that over there. It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
No, it does have to do with you. You are involved in the planet.
And then some vegan does some outreach with them, and they're like, oh yeah, I used to have a vegan roommate, and it was cool, whatever. But
I don't want to be somebody who talks about, oh, they were always so nice. I love that. I used to know some vegans.
I don't think anybody goes vegan because I went vegan because I met a nice vegan. No, you went vegan because you were confronted with reality and you had your beliefs challenged. That's how I went vegan. I think that we all kind of end up challenging what we think. It wasn't because somebody was like, oh, you can do whatever you want, but no. So I guess speak up. That's our kind of
And honestly, something that you just said kind of reminds me of stuff that we talked about earlier, where you're like, oh, I don't mind if you whenever a non-vegan says hey it's okay if you're
oh vegan. God, that's okay my biggest pet peeve. I hate.
It's okay if you're not racist. It's okay if you're not ableist. It's okay if you're not sexist. But
I hate that so bad. I hate when people are like that drives me up the wall. I don't have a problem with vegans. I'm like, oh, thank you so. I'm so glad you don't have a problem with me not torturing animals. You're so benevolent.
Oh, thanks for that.
I've just started saying now. I'm like, why would you have a problem? Why would you have a problem with vegans? Wait, hold on. Wait. What's the problem with vegans? But I think it comes back to that whole idea of people, non-vegans and vegans, maybe they have this misinterpretation that veganism is about the human, but it's really not. It's really not. Yeah. And that's a whole, we could open that can of worms about intersectionalism, but let's not.
Yeah. That's I can talk about it.
And we're slightly, I think we have some slightly, I'm less of an intersectionalist, even though I support a lot of, intersectional stuff. Right. But I think that would be, we should have that another whole, because we're on.
I will say that I think that animal activism is the leveler, in that if we make wins on animal rights, everything else will get easier, because it just makes sense. If we're valuing others' lives, if we're considerate of their needs, that knocks on. Angela Davis said the way that we oppress animals is an extension of the way that we oppress each other, and I believe that's true.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting too, because you have connections. You're more involved in some more political kind of left-wing stuff. And I vote and stuff, and I've been to council meetings, I've spoken, I've done some things, but I'm not as entrenched in the political atmosphere, I think, and you're more out there doing it, and I think that you've also had interesting experiences, right, with people who are on the left, just not, and it
hostility, straight hostility. I mean, my message has never been
stressful.
perfect. I don't claim that I'm the best messenger ever, but I don't think that anybody should be given hostility for advocating ever.
Right.
Especially by people who are on the same side as them, a liberation
should
side.
Be on the same side. Yeah. They're on the same side, they're just not behaving that way, I guess. And I have that's one of the reasons why I kind of stay out of it, is out of the whole political atmosphere, because I'm just disgusted. I'm like, what?
You've seen me after it. I'm broken. I'm messed up. I'm mad.
This is, right. But yeah, so I guess that was kind of what I wanted to get into and touch on, was just that your experience as somebody who's more socially inclined, and kind of balancing that in your life, and being able to be outspoken and accept the consequences. But it sounds like there's been a lot of positive too.
Hell yeah, absolutely. There's always positives to being authentic.
I like what you said too. It's like it is of course always about the animals and it's about veganism. At the same time, you recognize the side benefit of I'm speaking up for the animals, but that's a part of me being authentic as well. So people see that and they respect that, and they stick around for that purpose and hopefully continue to hear the message, because there is something to be said for not equivocating and not backing down, which I went vegan after multiple experiences and one particular conversation with somebody who, she was nice, but she was like, no, it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that. And I was like, what if you find roadkill? And she's like, but why would I do that when I don't? Like, she was very like, I'm not doing this. And I was like, okay. Like, and I walked off from that conversation, didn't go vegan immediately, but that was like, she had a response for my challenges and my excuses. And she didn't just go, well, I don't want to, I don't want to get into it. And she very much,
she's willing to say it's wrong.
Right.
How can we be vegan and not be willing to say that it's wrong to hurt animals?
It's wrong to hurt animals. It doesn't matter if it's your friend, your mom, your dad, your cousin. Like, it is wrong to hurt animals, and they should know it. They should know that it's wrong, and you might be their only chance to ever hear that it's wrong to harm animals unnecessarily.
They have a right to know. You should tell them. They have a right to know. Where all of society says it's okay, it's good, fair life, happy cow, all that shit. It's not true, and it's wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's talk more. Yeah.
I was gonna say something else, but I wasn't sure what it was. So I'm looking at the timer. Okay. All right. I was worried that it was off because it's like 20 point something. There was one more thing I wanted to say, which was just the whole thing of, I guess we already touched on it though, that you're being more social, me being less social, and my experience as far as I don't really mind if people hate me or dislike me or have a problem with me, that can be a problem too. So I think that we have to take responsibility for each one. So maybe being too socially concerned could be detrimental to being a vegan and speaking up, because you're like, well, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. But me not caring is not really minding if people dislike me or have an issue with me. That can be detrimental too, because it is true that aggression can turn people off, push people away. At the same time, if that's the only way you can do it, then do it. There is a difference between, hey, are you a vegan? No. You're a murderer. Versus, well, why not? We have to have those kind of Earthling Ed-esque, conversations. But to me, I give them that information. I give them everything I have in that first conversation, and then I expect them to go vegan, or at least start considering it. I want to see progress when I interact with people, and in the shop, of course. We're here in the tattoo shop, my shop. Almost everybody who comes into my booth, we end up having a conversation about veganism, and a lot of people come back and I'm working on it, or I'm thinking about it. Some people have gone vegan, and I'm not mean, but I'm pushy. Yeah. I'm pushy. I push the conversation. Oh, you have pets? Do you like animals? Do you like all animals? What about chicken?
Right. And no, and that's necessary, because you're making the kind of conversations that have to happen. Yeah. And also, I've heard you say, hey, as long as you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. If you're not ready to talk, if you don't want to talk about it, we'll talk about something else. And I think that you make the conversation comfortable for people to get into.
I will say, I have to be honest, I kind of backed. I've said that before, and I stopped saying it because one person,
people will be like,
one person, one person said, I'm gonna have to change the subject now, and it was because I said I was comparing queer rights to animal rights, and he was like, oh no, I wasn't comparing. I was extending his logic. Okay. So he said, well, animals do it, so we can do it. And I said, well, animals also, forcibly impregnate one another. And is that okay? And he was like, well, I'm going to have to, it's not the same, and I'm just going to have to change the subject. Yeah. And I feel like he changed the subject because he got backed into a corner of being wrong. And rather than going, damn, that sucks and you're right, and sitting with that discomfort, I gave him an out. But I appreciate you noticing that I try to be polite and diplomatic, but I have to say I've stopped. That happened. That's such a long. I should tell that story one day. But that came about because somebody else had a really hard time with me describing to them what happens to cows. And it's the only time in my life that I've ever had somebody get really offended, and it was right here in the shop. And they left, and I've never had anybody do that again. Never before.
It is brutal. I mean, sometimes
they wanted to talk about it.
When I say the R word in reference to what happens to cows, what happens to any animal that's bred for more, I feel it every time. It sucks. It's rough.
I mean, and I didn't say. I just described what the farmer does, and I guess
you have to know what you're responsible for.
And I think
sense,
And maybe it's tricky because for people like me and you, we say it. I say it so many times a day,
at least once a day.
Talk about what happens to cows. So I'm like, to me, it's like, oh yeah, this is what they do, and then they kill the baby, and I'm like.
And other people are like, I thought they lived on a happy farm. I thought it was one bad day.
Yes.
But the whole life is
the whole
context
every
of
day. Yeah, and I think, and that's a whole other thing too, which is I think a lot of people's negative reaction, it's wild to me that it comes towards us, but it's not, I don't think that it's truly, wow, you said that, I'm mad, but it's like, that's horrible, and I don't want to hear it, and I'm angry at you for telling me. But it's not like a random thing. We're telling them what they pay for, right? So you're directly responsible for this.
And then you kind of become the space.
Alexa, off.
Then you kind of become the space for them to process those feelings, and I think that helps me to not take it so personally. Is to understand that these do bring up big emotions because they are related to a lot of different parts of somebody's passive ideology, and so they are going to have those feelings come up, and you're going to just be able to hold space for that. And
I like that. I like you're giving like validation to that aspect. Like I will never give validation to harming an animal, but validating that, you know, your response that these feelings are big feelings, and it's okay to feel these things. It's okay to be disturbed and upset by these things. That's normal, you know, and I think that's a way that we can validate people and be gentle without being pushovers. Like, you should be upset. Of course you're upset. This is upsetting. Stop doing it. Stop doing it.
That last part, because you're not gonna stop feeling guilty otherwise.
Right. And so many people go vegan and they feel guilty for their past, but I don't necessarily experience that because I was dumb.
I wish I could have gone sooner. Like, I wish I made the connections and knew more sooner. Because I had a vegetarian phase and I didn't stick, and I'm ashamed.
Yeah, me off and on vegetarian my whole life. Until a couple.
A lot of people have vegetarian phases and they don't go back to it, and I think it's really common. It's really common.
Right. I was in that. I was one of those people that you might have experienced 10 years ago, going, I'm not a vegetarian right now. I had beef jerky and now I'm off of it for a while. Yep.
Yeah, and I done that too. It's just like, I couldn't know. I didn't know. Right. I did my best, and we all do, and that's it. Yeah. And that's why we have to spread the message honestly. And
I guess that's a good place to end it, which is like, yes, we're not on opposite sides of the spectrum. We're very similar, but I think we have enough of like different viewpoints that it's good to talk. But I think that we both agree on the whole, you have to advocate in any way possible.
100%.
I always say this, like the first few times I had a conversation with somebody about veganism and challenged them, inside, my heart was pounding and I didn't know what to say. And I was like, well, they put the pigs in there because they might hurt their baby. That makes sense. But, as soon as the conversation ended, I left, I researched, and the next time somebody said that to me, I had a response for them. And so I think that, every conversation you have gets easier. So if there's that like social anxiety or if it's worry, it gets so much easier, and we have to speak up with a shaky voice, with quietness, with loudness, with aggression, with anything.
Any way that you possibly can. And also, I want to say, it's not your fault if someone doesn't go vegan. It's their responsibility. Their actions and their beliefs are their responsibility. All you can do is send the message the best way that you can, any way that you can, and it's up to them. It's always up to them. So don't ever feel like, if I don't convince you right now, I'm at fault. Don't ever do that. No. Yeah. Nope, not your fault.
That's a lot to take. Earthling Ed's own parents aren't vegan, so if he can't even get his parents, I won't feel bad about like Bobby Sue leaving my shop with a butterfly tattoo, not going vegan. It's okay. But I think that's such a good point. Like, don't beat yourself up. But I know when I first went vegan and first started doing outreach, which was soon, because as soon as I was like, you're all gonna go vegan, and my partner did. Luckily, I was so glad.
She's great.
Oh, so lucky she went vegan. Oh my god. But that was good. But that's what I thought. I thought everybody's gonna go as soon as they know what happens. They're all gonna go vegan.
Right? Just open your eyes, people.
Right.
Wake up.
Yes, and it was so, and it didn't happen with two people that were very close to me. And I was mad I was so mad I was completely destroyed that they heard everything I had to say, and they heard what happened to animals, and they didn't go vegan. And I didn't blame myself. I blame them. I was like, you guys suck. But I think that I think that's such a good point, though. I think a lot of people that are more empathetic will definitely blame themselves.
I've been there. I was like, I just got to break the right message. No,
just say it the right way.
Better than silence. Just do your best.
Yeah,
good enough.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to end on. I think we both agree it's better than silence.
You got this.
You got this. Yeah. I wanted to start signing off with my the William Lloyd Garrison quote, which is I think he said, I changed it into like a directive, right? So it's don't speak with moderation, don't equivocate, and don't retreat a single inch, and be heard. And I love that quote, and I think it's a really good quote to encourage people to speak up. So
absolutely.
Thank you, Robin. I'm glad we did this. Yeah, we've been meaning to do this for a while, so this is really cool. So thank you, and yeah.